Welcome to this episode of UMBC's Mic'd Up podcast. My name is Denise Cardona from the Office of Professional Programs. We are joined today by Dr. Antonio Moreira, Vice Provost for Academic Affairs at UMBC. He has previously been chair of the Department of Chemical, Biochemical, and Environmental Engineering, Associate Dean of the College of Engineering and Information Technology, and Associate Provost for Academic Affairs. He joined UMBC after 10 years in industry, where he held senior positions with International Flavors and Fragrances Incorporated and Merck & Company, then called Schering-Plough Corporation. He led the biotechnology development group at Merck that brought alpha interferon to the market. Dr. Moreira obtained a BS degree in chemical engineering from the University of Porto, Portugal, and MS and PhD in chemical and biochemical engineering from the University of Pennsylvania. He was honored by the President of Portugal with the National Order of Public Education and awarded the title of Comendador. He is an honorary international member of the Brazilian Academy of Pharmaceutical Sciences and is currently chair of the board of the International Society of Pharmaceutical Engineering Foundation. We hope that you enjoy this episode of UMBC's Mic'd Up. Dr. Moreira, welcome. So nice to have you here with us today.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to join you today and talk about one of my favorite topics, biotechnology.
Yes, it is a wonderful industry. I've talked with thought leaders in the industry. I've spoken with faculty, and it is really a great program. I have also spoken to alumni of the program, and what great opportunities there are out there in the field. And
Indeed.
It's such an important industry, really is.
Yes.
To get started, can you give us a little background on your current role at UMBC and what sort of led you to being here at UMBC as part of the community?
Sure. Well, as you know, I'm Vice Provost for the Academic Affairs, and I'm also a full professor in the Department of Chemical, Biochemical, and Environmental Engineering. I've been here for 32 years, and actually I came to UMBC as chair of that department back then. I also, in my role here at the UMBC, I am the graduate program director for the graduate certificate in what we call biochemical regulatory engineering, which really is a certificate on biomanufacturing. We just came with a more evolved name, but really it addresses biomanufacturing. And what brought me to UMBC is the fact that I came out of industry. I worked for Merck for about 10 years. And I got interested in UMBC back then, not only because of what I saw in UMBC, but because I had the fortune of being able to start a new department in which I could focus in biotechnology and biomanufacturing, which to me was truly a major goal in terms of coming from industry and being able to influence the careers of students in academia and contributing to preparing them to go back to industry and really perform the roles that I had been in for almost a decade. So that opportunity was just very appealing. So I came to UMBC to start that, and 32 years later, I'm still doing it and still loving it, because I think it is the best thing we can do today, even more than ever, truly prepare our students to be prepared then in careers in today's fabulous world of biotechnology.
Absolutely. And we were talking before I hit the record button for this episode of how I started at UMBC 15 years ago. And when I first came on board, the biotechnology program was just being born. Mm-hmm. And we had the open house. And then 2 years later, we met at the first cohort's graduation. Yeah. And so I remember that time. And I remember biotechnology was such, and it still is, but it was such a hot topic, a hot field.
Yes.
And it was fun to market it. It was fun to take it from the ground, from the roots, and just help to see it flourish and bloom. Sure. And it's really come a long way. And I've talked to so many students in the program, alumni of the program, and they just have some fabulous things to say about the opportunities that they've gained as a result of being a student at UMBC, taking those courses.
Yes.
What do you enjoy most about the biotechnology industry?
As I went into the industry about 40 years ago now, that reveals my age, But as I went to industry, I couldn't see anything more enticing, more truly attractive than work in the field that the ultimate goal is make patients' lives better. And because every day that you work in this field and you are either in research or development or manufacturing, and my area is clearly more the development and manufacturing aspects, but you're truly producing or developing new medicines that are going to make a difference in someone's life. And I can't just ever forget that, again, at Merck, I worked on the first product we developed was, under my leadership, was the alpha interferon antiviral, anti-cancer drug back in the mid to late 80s. And just knowing that individuals whose life was really a life and death situation were going to be able to have that product administered to them and possibly their lives saved or at least made much better. It's just something that you can't experience otherwise. And in this case, for instance, we had, even 30 years later, as I am at UMBC, we had a very close friend of mine here on campus who had a cancer situation. And this individual's life was saved by alpha interferon, the same drug that I developed 30 or some years ago. And just that feeling, it really brings tears or whatever you want to say to your eyes, because you really feel that it's a field where you are doing something for mankind that is truly important, truly impactful. And that has been true all these years I've been involved with the biotech industry. It continues to motivate me to keep doing it. And in many ways, I wish I would be still 25 years old to do it all over again if I could, because it has been a phenomenal career and opportunity to really do something that you truly feel that it is the best you can do for anyone.
It sounds so purposeful. And I got chills when you just talked about that, the person who works at UMBC, your colleague. And wow, I mean, talk about making a difference in the lives of others. It really truly is a phenomenal industry that allows you to be able to do that. Yes. Absolutely.
Yes.
What do you want most for your students in the biotechnology industry? What do you want most for them?
I'll be very honest. I want most for them to have the same experience I've had in my life. It's just been such a privilege to be in this industry, to make this difference or be part of making this difference, that I wish that all of them have that opportunity, have that possibility of using their skills, their knowledge, their innovation in continuing to develop and bring into the market these kinds of products that really make a difference in someone's life. And so I hope that they will find those positions, they will feel realized by participating in this industry. And from our point of view, I want to make sure that we are preparing them to be successful. And that's why, especially the courses that we'll be talking about today are, to me, so important. And we started them on our campus already, some of them for a long time now. But they really make a difference in preparing the students to understand what it takes to bring these products to the market and approve it under the regulatory requirements that they have to fulfill. But I think there is nothing more I want than my students, our students, to have that opportunity to truly go and impact the world by developing these products that are just so important and so needed. And we saw that in COVID. I mean, what better period of the pharmaceutical industry than where we are right now, where in a matter of months, we were able to bring to the patient population the products that were needed to take care of the COVID situation. So again, that's just right now, that's what I'm saying. I wish I were 25 years old because just so much to be done. And the industry has evolved so much that I think the career possibilities and the impact that someone, a young individual, can have over his or her lifetime is just unbelievable.
I was talking with a recent graduate of the biotechnology program, and he talked about his role working with a biotechnology firm and helping with the COVID vaccine. And he couldn't have been more proud. I mean, it was just, it sounded like such a wonderful moment for this person's life to be there, educated properly, to be able to go forth and put that effort and be able to really make that difference out there in the world.
Yes. It's just something that only once you have done it, you really understand the magnitude of the impact that you are having on someone's life. And that someone can be your spouse, your son or daughter, your mother, your father. It can be that close. And it has been that close in my own life.
Wow, that's powerful. Can you talk about the current trends that are happening in biotechnology and how UMBC is addressing them with its degree programs and also its non-credit courses?
Sure. As I said, the industry is just growing phenomenally, and I wish again I was young enough to have another life in this area. The trends are just, again, we're talking about COVID. And that's just a great example of how the industry has responded to a need that was global. And we globally were able to bring these vaccines and therapeutics to the market very quickly. And again, we still lost, unfortunately, many lives, but many more could have been lost if we hadn't really developed these products. So I think that the trends are truly to accelerate, to be agile, to be flexible, and bring to the market as quickly as we can these novel products that, again, make a difference in someone's life, and making them globally. I think these products are needed globally, not just in the US, not just in the Western world, but truly all over the globe. And that is a challenge to bring them available in such a large scale as COVID was necessary. So it's this agility, this flexibility, this experience in getting the product to the market, working with the regulatory authorities to develop them as quickly as we can. Still safety first, always, of course, but very important to bring this technology as quickly as we can. And then the trend, these new approaches, and we'll be talking about cell and gene therapy. We'll be talking about monoclonal antibodies that are conjugates, personalized medicine. The possibility of having what I call a one-shot product, where you have a shot and it cures you for life. You don't need to keep taking the product on a daily or weekly basis. But gene therapy and cell therapy are now getting those kinds of possibilities available. The possibility of self-administering these drugs, not having to go to the hospital or to the doctor's office to receive the drug, but again, through the combination products, through the auto-injectors, pre-filled syringes, those kinds of technologies, the patient can administer himself or herself these new products, which makes, again, much more comfortable life for everyone, because you can do it when you need it. And also the technology that now exists with what we call telehealth, where the doctor is essentially always in touch with you, because now through the internet and cloud computing and all of those, you can truly have all your bio data being transmitted back and forth between you and your doctor. These are just trends that I think are accelerating the availability of these new medications to patients. And I think it's revolutionizing the industry in a way that is bringing to life, though it comes back to the academic question, there is a tremendous need for a qualified workforce that can actually work in these new technologies, can actually bring them to life and to the market. And that's where UMBC plays a key role, because by having the programs that we have, we are preparing our students. And to me, the critical point is to prepare them to be ready to, from day one, as they work in these wonderful companies, to contribute to the development and availability of these products. And so it is on us at the university to develop the courses, the training, the research, so that our students are truly exposed to these new technologies. They are immersed in them. They also understand how it works in the private sector. And that's why it's so important to have the courses that we have, so that when they go to these companies, it's not news to them. They already know what's coming, and they have been trained at university to be ready for these leading edge fields. And to me, that's a critical component that we are trying to do here at UMBC that I think distinguishes us from possibly other universities, because we are very much in tune with what is needed in the workplace, in what I call the real world, and make sure that our students are the best prepared we can make them prepared for those kinds of job opportunities.
Speaking of, let's talk about some of these upcoming suite of non-credit courses that you're going to be leading in biotechnology at UMBC. I understand there are 4 of them. Could you go into some detail on them?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, that's music to my ears. I love talking about our courses. As I said, one of our major focus has been to develop courses that do prepare the students to be ready to participate in these extraordinary adventures, if you will, and challenges in the jobs that they will be working on as they leave the university. So our courses are very focused on biomanufacturing. And we develop them in a way in partnership with industry and also the FDA. I have to really acknowledge here the contributions that the FDA has made to our program, because we benefit from the being relatively close to the FDA, so that's very helpful in the connections we have with the colleagues there. But the courses that we have, we'll have a course on what we call development and regulation of biopharmaceuticals. So that course will go into how do you engage into the early stages of developing a new biological product, and developing it under conditions that, again, are going to be approved by the Food and Drug Administration or other regulatory agencies, but we certainly work closely with the FDA. So the students understand or learn in that course not only what is the preclinical studies that need to be done, the clinical studies that need to be carried out, but they also work on topics that deal with the development of the manufacturing processes, the early R&D, the early development, the scale up, and again, understanding all that needs to be done. And it culminates with them actually preparing what we call a pre-IND package. That is what a company has to submit to the FDA to be authorized to go into the clinical trial in human patients with these products. So our students get exposed to that. And again, that's a unique feature of our program. And I'm delighted to say that we are lucky that we have FDA colleagues that actually listen to the presentations by the students and critique them as if they were actually making a presentation to the FDA.
That is powerful.
That's powerful, exactly. So that's one course. The other course is on quality control and quality assurance of biotechnology products. You need to have in place all the quality systems that allow you to know what is that you are manufacturing. Are those products meeting the quality standards necessary to, again, be safe and efficacious? What are the analytical tools that you need for assuring that your raw materials, your in-process materials, your final product they have the quality attributes that make them safe and efficacious? That's a very complex question that has, especially in biotechnology, are thousands of tests that need to be carried out, validated, and essentially developed in a way that you can trust that the results that you are getting really are true and really give you a good measure of the quality of these products. So very important. The other course will be on combination products. I already mentioned that a little earlier. So the trend now in biotech and in the pharma industry is these combination products where you put together, for instance, a device and a drug or a biologic, and this leads to self-administration of these products, again, make it much more convenient for the patients. To my knowledge, there are very few universities that are training their students on how you develop these combination products. How do you get them through the regulatory review? how do you design them? How do you understand, for instance, the human factors that go into the design of these products? If you think of a pre-filled syringe, sounds very simple, just put stuff inside the syringe and you have it. Well, what if the patient is someone who has arthritis and this individual has difficulty in grabbing the syringe, in pressing the piston and all of that? So we need to think about how to design these combination products so that the patient can self-administer that product to himself or herself. So the development, the design, the human factors, all of those are topics that we discuss in this course. And again, as I said, very unique course that I don't think is available in many other universities. Mm-hmm. Finally, I'm delighted that we are going to offer for the first time this fall a course on cell and gene therapy, which is, again, I think it's just so needed because the explosion in this area is just tremendous. There are probably thousands of companies that are now getting into the cell and gene therapy. Again, this leads into personalized medicine. Is what I call the one-shot medication that you genetically introduce modifications that can cure you with one dose, essentially for life. We hope. We don't know yet because it's so new that we need to have the long-term studies, but that's coming. And so again, what are the regulatory requirements for cell and gene therapy products, quality requirements, manufacturing systems, all of those complexities of a brand new field that here in Maryland especially, we are becoming one of the capitals in cell and gene therapy. And I think there is a tremendous need right now for individuals qualified in these areas. So we are delighted to have the first course. And a main characteristic of all of these courses is that we teach them in partnership with industry, and as I said, also with collaboration with the FDA. So this is not me only or an academic teaching these courses, but we have true leaders in industry. Almost every week we have colleagues from, and I won't name the companies not to leave anyone out, but think of any company that is a leader in this field and probably will have someone from that company engaged in our courses, and they provide their lectures. And these are individuals that are doing this on the same day. And so our students, I've heard our students, and especially on the non-credit side, were saying, gee, I'm going tomorrow to my office at my company and I'm going to implement what I heard in class last night. That's the kind of information that we are providing in our courses. It's from industry leaders who are sharing on their own time, are sharing the knowledge, again, without going to any confidentiality, of course, but they are sharing truly what it takes to develop these products, what are the key questions, and how is industry addressing them in partnership with the regulatory agencies. And that's, to me, is a unique feature that our courses have that I believe distinguish them from what may be available at other universities or organizations that have not had the opportunity to grow these courses in partnership with our industry colleagues.
The potential and the advantage for students is, it's huge.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, you're talking about the non-credit courses. These courses also are available as graduate courses in the graduate program, but specifically the non-credit format courses, who are they designed to support?
They're really designed to support individuals who are already working, who are at companies, and to provide them again, with this knowledge. Because what happens very often, again, as I was saying earlier, universities have not traditionally prepared students with what I call the real world knowledge. And I know that by my own example. I did my PhD, top-notch Ivy League school, with probably the number one person in biochemical engineering at the time. But as I went to Merck, and I was also at the IFF, International Flavors and Fragrances, on day one, I realized that I knew nothing. I knew a lot, but when it came to really, how do you do this in the real world? I was very green, as I say. What drove me first to industry to really learn that. So that is again, we're doing a great job at the university, but there is a need to really prepare the students with this understanding of the real world. And so many individuals in companies, they're doing fantastic job, of course, and they have learned on the job what it takes to develop, manufacture these products. But again, because of the nature of their job, they are very focused on what they are doing. And so they may not have all the, what I call the broad vision of really the full field of what it takes to really develop these products. So they may be very good in doing, running a bioreactor or the downstream process or developing a formulation. They are experts and they know that inside out. But when having the understanding of why do we do it that way? What are the regulatory requirements? How does that specific unit operation link to everything else in the manufacturing of the product? That's what they learn in our courses. And so I think individuals who are at companies, yes, they're doing the job, they're doing great work, but our courses help them understand what they do, how it links and interfaces with everything else that happens with that product. And we have had participants who come back and tell us, gee, I didn't realize that what I do in my job today, if I don't do it right, it can really impact something else, somewhere else in the manufacturing process and really totally waste what dozens of people have been working on for weeks and months because I didn't realize that what I did that maybe wasn't quite correct had that impact on somewhere other part of the process of manufacturing. So that's what we try to do, is we try to really provide the industry participants with that understanding of what they do, how it links to everything else, and how the interconnection of the various steps in manufacturing is so important for the overall product to meet the quality specs that it's supposed to meet. And so that's what they learn in our courses.
It sounds like it's really set up for that motivated person who is out there in the field, who is in learning mode always, as you know, we all should be really always in learning mode, and wanting to professionally develop themselves and to be able to be the best they can be out there in the field.
Sure. They will understand, as I said, the impact of what they are doing on their own job, on other aspects of the process. They will also understand sometimes why is it that they have to do what they do. Because again, they learn it, they do it very well, but sometimes all the reasoning behind it, they just don't have the time to absorb that. And these courses help them understand fully even the nature of what they are doing.
Yeah. And how can offering these courses improve a company's efficiency, productivity, and bottom line?
Sure. Well, number one, because again, we cover the development, we cover the quality control, we cover the combination products. So the participants from companies are learning these tools, are hearing about these technologies. And again, they are hearing this from experts in peer companies or sometimes in their own company. We have had lecturers where their employees work in our courses. And again, they don't have the time in the company's framework to spend the time explaining that. And so the courses help them allocating the time to really think about what's behind what they are doing on a daily basis. So it's just, it helps them really be better at what they are doing. And that's important, obviously. But again, I think also because they get through the courses, this exposure to the overall manufacturing steps, to the interactions with regulatory agencies, to the quality characteristics that these products need to have, they learn that. And so as they perform their own work in their positions, they understand what's at stake. They understand what's going to come next or what came before, the reason why they're doing what they're doing. Why the regulatory agencies have the questions they have and the companies have to provide information. They will understand, for instance, the example of the pre-filled syringe. Why is it that I spend so much time playing around with the size of the syringe and the type of needle and the shape of it? And because again, that's very important. for the patients to be able to use the product. Otherwise, if they can't administer it safely and effectively, it's just not going to have a product, right? So
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, all of this is knowledge that the participants are gaining that helps them not only to do their jobs better, but also understand overall how the processes work, how the manufacturing systems are developed, and consequently, they will be able to contribute much more effective to the company's bottom line, because hopefully they will have ideas, they will have, because when you understand how something works and interacts with the other components of the system, you are going to be more effective. You're going to, hopefully there will be less mistakes made, you will be more efficient, you will have ideas that will allow you to improve and develop your processes better, more efficiently, less time. So all of this is going to help the companies in terms of the quality of the workforce that they have, which is so critical for the success of their products.
Now, for professionals who might want to enroll in the degree program at a later date, can they transfer these non-credit courses for credit if they apply to the graduate program?
They can. We have developed what we call an articulation, MOU internally, but essentially there is that possibility. There are some constraints on it. They for instance, they will have to take the courses and get a grade of B or better. So yeah, there is the academic quality standards here. They also have to do it within 2 years. So if they took a course 4 or 5 years ago, that's not going to count because, again, technology has evolved. And as I said, in our courses, we have professionals that are doing it on that same day at their companies, lecturing for us. And the science is evolving so rapidly. The regulations are evolving so rapidly that in 2 or 3 years, you can be outdated if you haven't kept up. So we really have the 2-year limit in terms of giving the graduate credit. And also, I believe they can only do that up to 6 credit hours. So only 2 courses can be transferred to their degree program. But the bottom line answer is yes, they can transfer within some constraints, but they can do that.
Absolutely. And my last question is, IXL at UMBC offers group discounts for companies. How does a company arrange that?
Yeah, I think the best is to just call and ask. So companies can call me or contact me, and feel free to put my email on the publication here, or you can call or contact Lamar Davis. He's the director of the IXL program. And so our names, again, if they go to the UMBC website, umbc.edu, they can find us. That will be the best. Just contact either Lamar or myself, and we'll be happy to work on it and guide them to the right locations to get their group discount, as we say. But that we'll be happy to do that.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Dr. Moreira. This has been a really wonderful conversation. I've enjoyed it. I love talking about biotechnology. I'm very interested in the field in terms of how it advances us forward as a species, as human beings, and being able to make life better for people. Yeah. It's just such a wonderful advantage that we have out there in the world. And it's great that UMBC is at the forefront of educating people to be able to go out there and make their mark on the world.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. No, thanks for having me. And again, I hope this was informative and hopefully inspirational for potential students who are interested in this field. Also, I offer anyone who would like to talk to me and learn more or learn not only about my experience, but again, I'm very plugged in with the pharmaceutical industry. I'm on various boards with many colleagues from industry. So I think I have a relatively good understanding of what's happening in the field. And so I always enjoy talking about it and sharing what I know with anyone who is considering entering this field and or perfecting their skills. And I think that's what we're here for at UMBC.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moreira.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode of UMBC's Mic'd Up. We hope that you enjoyed it. If you'd like to learn more about UMBC's biotechnology graduate programs or some of the courses mentioned in this episode, please check out the link in our show notes.